It's the spring of 2018. Somewhere in the Netherlands, a version of me that's 5 years younger is busy finishing school and dreaming about the summer. Suddenly, I get a text from one of my best friends, Hans. Do you have summer travel plans? Want to do Interrail together? And with that little message, the plan for an epic summer was born. Hans and I got together often those next few weeks, pining over possible itineraries. We shared Google Docs, checked timetables, argued about the cities we wanted to visit, and revised. I saved up the money I was earning working at a grocery store, and Hans found 2 large backpacks that would fit all our stuff. The end of June rolled around, and we were ready to go. Interrail is a travel pass that is honored by almost all European railway operators. It is called a Eurail pass for visitors from outside Europe. It allows travelers to crisscross the continent by train. The way it works is you buy a pass online, which is sent to you by mail. There are different price brackets which allow for a certain number of travel days within a period of time. We bought a pass that let us travel on 7 different dates within 1 month. With the pass in our possession, it was up to us to decide what days we would travel and where we would go. And we had a plan. All of that was 5 years ago. Yes, at the time I did upload videos of our travels, but let's just say the quality of my content has improved quite a bit since then. So today, and on Wednesday, I will be retelling the story of my first Interrail trip. We'll be looking at the trains we rode, the cities we explored, and I'll offer some behind-the-scenes commentary as well. At the end of part 2, stay tuned for a special announcement from the channel. Our big trip, which would see us taking the train through 10 different countries, began in our hometown, the Dutch city of Leiden. Leiden has multiple train stations. We've got the main station, which sees a ton of service. But for some reason we decided to start our trip in Leiden-Lammerschans, which is like a small regional station. It's only got 1 platform. It's in the middle of this residential neighborhood. I think the reason we chose to do that is because it was just closer to his house. But it was kind of funny because, over time our ticket was filled with the names of major European cities, but at the very top it always said Leiden-Lammerschans, and it just felt so random. If anybody watching this knows somebody else who has started their Interrail trip at Leiden-Lammerschans, please let me know in the comments. So far, we're the only people I know of, but it would be super cool to meet someone else who has. Our goal the first day was to get as far away as possible. Our first destination, Basel in Switzerland. Most of our time would be spent crossing Germany, but first we had to get out of the Netherlands. Which is how we ended up in Venlo. So there are direct trains from Amsterdam all the way to Basel in Switzerland. We didn't choose that one. I think it's because that train leaves really early in the morning and we didn't want to leave that early. Although, going through Venlo like we did means that we got to take more trains, a bigger variety of trains, and yeah, I may have had something to do with that. We most certainly weren't the only people on Interrail. All our trains the first day were crowded. Once over the border, things began to feel more real. We were in Germany now. So we get to Dusseldorf. We only have a few minutes to transfer to our ICE train, which would take us all the way to Frankfurt. And I noticed on the platform that it's already really crowded, and you can reserve a seat on the ICE, but we chose not to. And so, yeah, from Dusseldorf all the way to Frankfurt, we were standing in the gangways by the bathroom while the train was just cruising at 300 kilometers per hour. It was a great time. But the ride from Frankfurt to Basel was smooth as can be. Riding aboard the Intercity Express, Germany's flagship high-speed train, Hans took a nap while I admired the countryside of Baden-Württemberg. By dinner time, we had arrived in Switzerland. Well, sort of. Basel is wedged right between Germany and France. Our train arrived at Basel Badischer Bahnhof, which technically lies in Switzerland, but operationally is treated as a German station. If you took a domestic train from one German station to another German station and transferred here, it would be considered a domestic German journey. But as soon as you leave the station hall, you have traveled internationally, as you are now standing with both feet firmly in Switzerland. So we finally made it to Basel and we decided to hop on a tram and head straight to the hotel. We mostly stayed in hotels and a few hostels on this trip, and we got some amazing deals. I think we spent like between 20 and 60 euros a night, like on the room. And I mean, I just shudder to think about what those same places would cost in 2023. It was still early in the evening and I'd been to Basel before, but I'd only ever driven through it, and the views of the city from the road are not pretty at all. So I wanted to know if it was actually ugly or if it was actually a very charming city. So we got on a tram again. The nice thing was that all public transportation in the city was included in our hotel stay, so we could just ride for free. And I'm glad we did. We found out that Basel is actually a very beautiful city. It's right on the Rhine, there's lots of old buildings, you can just casually walk to France if you want. Little did we know how much beauty would be in store for us the next day. It's day 2 and we've arrived at Basel SBB station, the city's main railway station. We hop aboard one of Switzerland's famously punctual long-distance trains, and by the end of the morning we've made it to Lausanne, in the French-speaking side of the country. Lausanne is where the International Olympic Committee is headquartered, and it's also the only city in all of Switzerland to have a metro system. The subway here has been featured on my channel, so make sure to check that out. We didn't have long before we got on another train, this time to Montreux, a city on the shores of Lake Geneva. This is where the main event of the day was about to begin. We were going to take the Golden Pass route. Now, the Golden Pass is super popular among train travelers, so it was kind of a cliche, but Hans suggested it. He really wanted to do this, and I wasn't gonna say no, but I'm really glad we went. Our train was operated by the Montreux Oberland Bernois Railway, a private company. Our train was a special consist that only runs twice a day. It uses panoramic cars, which we could sit in with just our Interrail tickets at no extra costs or reservation. But what made our train extra special was that it uses the Belle Époque cars. These ornately decorated cars were rebuilt to make you feel as though you are on a relaxing journey through the Alps in the Pullman days of the 1930s. Besides the Belle Époque and the panoramic trains, MOB also operates a chocolate train. The first section of the MOB line opened in 1901. Today it connects Montreux in the French-speaking canton of Vaud with Zweisimmen in the German-speaking Bernese Oberland Mountains. This line forms part of the Golden Pass route. The Golden Pass is a heavily marketed train journey, but it is actually not one train. In fact, the route stretches from Montreux to Lucerne over the tracks of 3 separate companies. We're doing the first 2, on the MOB and the BLS lines. Sometimes things like these can be tourist traps, but as I'm sure these views will convince you, the Golden Pass route is well worth your time. The nice part about all scenic trains in Switzerland is that aside from the luxury tourist trains, these routes also have just regular regional trains running over them, making them accessible to people like us who are traveling on a pass. In Zweisimmen, the MOB line meets the line operated by railway company BLS. The MOB line is meter gauge, while BLS trains run on the wider standard gauge. These days, there are actually direct trains that run from Montreux to Interlaken using a super cool gauge-changing mechanism. However, as this was 2018, we had to change trains. At Spitz, rather than continuing to Interlaken by train, we wanted to catch a ferry. Another perk of the Interrail pass is that many ferries participate. In our case, there was just one little problem. So we're in Spitz and we want to catch this ferry, but it's the last ferry of the day and our train was delayed, so we ran. I think we had like 3 minutes to basically get to the other side of town. We ran so hard, I was in a little bit of pain, but we made the boat right before it was supposed to depart. And once we were on the top deck looking at the mountains and the lake, catch our breath, it was time to relax. That wouldn't be the last time this trip that we had to run to make a connection, but we weren't worried about that at the moment. We were enjoying a cruise over the Thunersee. A new morning in Switzerland. Though the sights of the previous day were awe-inspiring, the cost of being in Switzerland were equally jaw-dropping. We were both students, we were on a serious budget, so it was time to head to a different corner of the continent. Our first leg on this third day was a short 1-hour hop from Basel to Zurich, Switzerland's largest city. This was aboard a German ICE train. Here's a fun little secret about train travel in Switzerland that I am sharing with you here today. Within Switzerland, international trains are given the same status as domestic trains. So when you look on the timetable, it may say that it's just an inner-city train, but when you get to the platform, you could find an ICE or even a French TGV waiting for you. While taking the TGV in France or pretty much anywhere else requires a reservation, you don't have to get one in this scenario, so it's a great opportunity to travel with a little extra comfort. Today, we had another icon of the European rails on our agenda, the Austrian Railjet. We had a one-seat ride to Budapest, in Hungary. En route, we would leave Switzerland, crawl through Liechtenstein, and then cross all of Austria. For the last stretch from the Hungarian border to Budapest, we needed to buy a seat reservation. Costing less than €5, we had already taken care of this a few days earlier. Once on board the Railjet, it began to dawn on us just how long we would be on this train. It's kind of funny because I've done so many Amtrak long distance trains now where you're just on the train for 2 whole nights in coach, and so yeah, I laugh that I thought that was long, but back then that was the longest trip I'd ever taken, and it felt long. The train traveled very slowly through Liechtenstein. This microstate has 3 train stations. The Railjet stops at none of them, and the first stop after leaving Switzerland was Feldkirch in Austria. Once we left the Alps behind us for good, our speed began to pick up. The Railjet has a top speed of 230 kilometers per hour, a speed we reached on multiple occasions throughout the day. Time to get some dinner in the cafe car. Entering Hungary was an exciting feeling. Neither of us had ever been here before, and while the distance between the Netherlands and Hungary might be smaller than the distance between Chicago and Boston, we could both feel that culturally, we were in a very different place. Budapest has so much to offer, but after more than 12 hours traveling and a late arrival, first things first, sleep. We gave ourselves days 4 and 5 to explore Budapest. with a hotel right on the metro, we had the entire city at our fingertips. So when we started exploring Budapest, we didn't really have a plan. We bought like a city day pass for the public transit, and we just decided to randomly step off the train at a station. And the station we ended up picking, we walked straight up to the surface, and boom, there was the Hungarian Parliament building right there. So that was a pretty lucky guess. That's kind of just what we did throughout the 2 days in Budapest. Like, we took the tram here, and then we visited that park, saw that monument, you know, we strolled past the Danube on several occasions. The public transit in Budapest is just really easy to use. That's not to say we didn't plan anything. So our hotel was on the Buda side of the city, and it was right by the Buda Castle. So of course we went to explore that, and I mean, seeing architecture like the Fisherman's Bastion, that was awesome. And there were some trains that I wanted to ride as well. One was the Budapest Cogwheel Railway. This line is 3.7 kilometers long and climbs up the hills on the Buda side of the city. It climbs the steep gradients using a rack in the middle of the track, and it's the only rack railway in the city. Despite being different than all the other transit in Budapest, it's treated as part of the city's extensive tram network. To be specific, it has been given the route number 60, and that means that we could ride it with our citywide transit tickets that we had bought at the metro station. Another must-see in Budapest is Metro Line M1. Opened in 1896, this is the oldest subway in continental Europe. Though the line is very short, and these obviously aren't the first generation of trains, it's still a piece of transit history that is a must-see for anyone visiting Budapest. So I wanted to ride M1 because of its historic significance, and also it was just really fun because, I mean, yeah, it's not like, you obviously know that these trains aren't from 1896, but still they're different than normal trains. They're really small, they're super frequent, like the stations are very shallow and close together, and so it's almost kind of like a theme park ride. It's really fun to ride. Having been frugal with our money while traveling through Switzerland, we were looking forward to some nice warm meals while in Hungary. On our first day of exploring Budapest, we kind of stumbled across this restaurant called the Blue Rose, and I mean, we both ordered the goulash, and it was so good and so extremely affordable. The waiter was very nice. We talked with him and we kind of got to know him, and he gave us a discount for the next time we went to Blue Rose. I think it was like a 15% discount or something. Next time we went to Blue Rose was the next day. Spending 2 full days in Budapest was definitely the right move. There were more cities to explore and more trains to ride. The journey got a little wilder after this, and you'll hear all about it on Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe to Trains Are Awesome so you don't miss the video. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you next time.